Hello and welcome to Fibertown. This is episode 94. It is January 9th, 2014, and I'm Emily, Chain of Fools on Ravelry and Fibertown with an RE on Instagram, and on my blog at fibertown.blogspot.com, on iTunes, on YouTube, on Ravelry, the Fibertown podcast group. Come and join us. Welcome to the new year, everyone. It's been a while since I've chatted with you all. This is my podiversary month, and it'll be 2 years in a few weeks. So thank you all for all your connections that we've made and comments you leave on the episode thread and YouTube channel, and thank you for iTunes reviews. I asked and I received. I want to say thank you to Sherry BZ, Nanita NYC, Memes Are Fun, and you name it, for leaving iTunes reviews. And thank you. It's just very lovely to get feedback. I want to say welcome to Lady Amelia Rose, who is Emily from Ohio, and she just introduced herself on the Rav group, and she talks about all the crafting she's doing. And she's not sure yet about spindling. She has a spindle, but she's not sure if it's taken yet. And I can remember feeling that way, and try different combinations of spindles and fiber, and maybe try someone's wheel. It sometimes takes a while in different setups to know if you're really into making yarn. So don't give up. Also, SJP Knits, who is Jane from Ontario, Canada. She does it all. She works at an LYS. That's kind of a dream job. So, I'm here with my co-host Alice, who is taking advantage of a wee bit of sun. Hi, Alice. Alice, say hi to the folks. It's very cold. In fact, my son has been in school, I don't know. We had a snow day, a cold day yesterday. We had snow on Tuesday, and then delays, and there was a delay today, and it's just been a lot of togetherness. So I'm here by myself with Al, finally, and finally felt like I could sit down and gather all my stuff and organize it so I could talk to you guys. So it's a new year, and in this episode I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about FOs, whips, spinning, acquisitions. I'm going to purloin something from the Knitmore girls. And I'm going to talk about last year, kind of how it went knitting-wise. And then I'm going to look forward to 2015, tell you what my thoughts are there. And a couple of other things in there as well. For example, CALs. For the time being, I'm going to revert to my initial monthly FO thread with a twist. So that means that you can enter any finished objects during the month. They can be projects that have already started. Doesn't matter. So for January, which is, we're kind of already partway into there, but it's okay. For January, enter any FO at all of any type of item. Knitted, crocheted, woven, spun. But if you finish a sweater in January, then you get 2 entries. And so I'm going to vary the amount of extra entries every month. And this month it's sweaters, because I've got one I'd like to finish. So it's very selfish of me to do it this way, but I'm hoping that I need a little motivation to finish the sweater, and I'm hoping you all can help. And also, for example, there are a lot of sweater knit-alongs going on. I know that Pen, Hook, and Needles podcast has one, so check them out. So, double dipping is always encouraged. Dip as many times as possible. Okay, so let's move on to FOs. Let me show you this one. This is my first woven, well, actually, no, I finished this in 2014. This is a houndstooth scarf, and this was an interesting process. It's woven, there's a little blemish. It's woven out of, what's the yarn? Cascade Eco Plus. So I have this lovely raspberry and a chocolate. And I have actually you can start, see this was the beginning of the scarf. And I actually had to cut off a good portion of this scarf. It was way too long, and you can see right here, I was beating the warp too hard, and the houndstooths were not coming out. They were just being compressed. And I really didn't realize until I was like 1.5 feet into it. And then I started beating the warp much more lightly, and you get this houndstooth. So the way, it's really simple. The way you warp for a houndstooth is just alternating colors, 2 of each color. That's what I did. So 2 brown warp threads, 2, I've been saying warp and weft wrong. I beat the weft too tight. So it was 2 brown warp threads, 2 pink, 2 brown, 2 pink, 2 brown, 2 pink. And I did this, I'm happy with the way I carried the 2 colors up the sides. I think it looks pretty good. There are blemishes in the scarf, including, oh, I don't know what happened there. I think that was see right there? It was a color change that went awry. And there was a warp thread that started to fray. The cascade, where there was a join in the cascade in the plies, it was a really bad join. And I didn't notice it till my reed had been going back and forth over it's right here, over that warp thread, and I noticed it was starting to fray, and that's where there was a join in the yarn. So boo, 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 boo. I hope that holds. I hope it felts together a bit. I don't know what'll happen if it goes. We'll see. So yeah, it's a 2-ply, and yeah, you can see it right there, that little bobble of brown. But it's cute. It's cute. I wanted to try houndstooth. I had this yarn in my stash for forever and a day, and take this cowl off. And it's warm. It softens up quite a bit. I love Cascade Eco Plus for knitting. So cute, right? I would like to, I'm sorry, I gotta take this off. My hair is not looking so good. I just washed it. I can't do a thing with it. There we go. The all-purpose headband. So that is my FO number 1. Number 2, do I have a second one? I do have a second one. These are my socks. I'm going to put them on the blockers. They have been worn. These are out of Gourmet Stash, Stout Sock, which is a Corriedale nylon blend, 75-25. And, as I said, I've been wearing these. These have been published on Rav. My pattern sale is now over. But they are very affordable. So if you like them, go check them out. I decided to call them the Bleather socks. Let me just show you this one. The Bleather sock. It is a very easy pattern to knit. For example, when you're talking to people, knit night, when you're blethering away. So it's got my preferred heel. Of course, you could modify the heel. It's a bottom of the foot or riverbed gusset. And it's just a very easy broken, you can see, it's a broken rib. And it's just, it makes a very cushy sock. And this base is fab. Fab, fab, fab. So very fun to knit and wear. The Bleather socks, B-L-E-T-H-E-R. There they are. I'm going to try this with, I think, a self-striping. See how that turns out. So Alice, I'm going to put these by you. I wanted to say something else about, pattern sales for the EU. You may have heard some designers talking about this. They have new VAT, value-added tax regulations in the EU that apply to digital media downloads. And digital pattern downloads are part of that. So there's a lot of sort of unknowns, and frankly, I'm hoping this gets reversed. I don't know that it will. Put this back on. But there are a couple options, and right now I'm sort of biding my time and I'm not making my patterns available to people in the EU through Ravelry. There is another site, I might do it through that, Love Knitting. I just haven't been able to get over there and transfer everything. And in fact, there is a backlog of, there's so many designers doing it that Love Knitting has put all of that on hold, and you're in a queue kind of thing. So I can't do anything about it right now. So as of 2015, I would possibly be responsible for paying the VAT tax. I'm not set up to do that. You know, Ravelry still, they could possibly be responsible for it. I don't know. And there's a movement to make it so that you would have to earn $100,000 in digital downloads before you had to pay the VAT tax. But the people who put this law in, I don't know, Brussels, is that where they do this? Is that where the EU is headquartered? They didn't really take into account people like Ravelry pattern designers who don't do it for a living. So if you are in the EU, you can still get my patterns, and here's how. PM me on Ravelry. Let me know what you want. I will ask you to make a donation to the podcast in the amount that the pattern costs, and boom, I'm going to gift it to you. Shh, don't tell. Just until I can get things figured out. So this may just be, for the next few months. I don't know. I'm hoping that, as I said, that it changes and this goes away. So I've put a little note on all my patterns that if you are in the EU, contact me. Okay, so that's FOs, works in progress. Let me show you my Ictarine. This is out of Curls by Hunter Hammerson. It is this curl right here. Isn't that pretty? And it's a 8-stitch, what's the name? Cable, that's the name. Oh no, I'm in the middle of a row. Okay. It's an 8-stitch cable. I have about this much done. This is out of my hand-spun Cormo from Reflections at Rocklands. It's just beautiful. I actually initially had to rip out the whole thing because there was a mistake I couldn't live with. Things really do need to line up. I couldn't fudge it and be happy with it. So I did have a pretty big setback with this, but it's okay. It's getting there. The Cormo is very squishy. It's very drawn in. I'm interested to see how it's going to block out the whole thing. I just finished, the reason I'm in the middle of a row is that I just finished the first ball. And yes, I'm going to add a ball in the middle of the row. I don't care. I'm using every bit of this that I can. I need to wind up my second hank. That's my hand spun. It's a 3-ply Cormo. Just thought it would be great for these cables. And watch this. It's so springy. It's really amazing stuff. Kate, I can't think of her last name. She is the shepherdess. She regularly wins first prize for fleece, and her sheep are prize-winning Rambouillet and Cormos at the big shows at Maryland, at Rhinebeck, and I love her stuff. She's an amazing shepherdess. She has border Leicesters as well, so nice variety of breeds. So this is delightful. I have about 350 yards total. So this is going to be, I'm hoping for a cowl-ish thing that'll be so squishy around my neck and that I could probably pin with my penannular brooch. So that's work in progress number 1. Work in progress number 2 is the Party Mix. That's by Julia Farwell Clay. It's a niddy pattern. It's designed to use handspun. And you may recall, I finished the front a long time ago, and this is just a whole mishmash of different handspuns, but I kind of love it. It's mostly BFL silk from Julie Spins that I spun, and there's some merino thrown in there, as well as some Polworth silk. So I've done the front. I've done one of the side panels, and I think I did it wrong. I think I did the top part wrong. I don't think it should look like this. I don't know. I started the second side panel, so I may be ripping part of this out once I do this again. And the second side panel is in my little bag. It's pretty fast knitting. And this I dyed myself, this stuff. There's the second side panel. Coming along, and let's see. So there's the sleeves will be out of the same pulver silk that I dyed, plus this one. I'm going to stripe. This is a pulver silk also, but I dyed it Dragonfly Fibers and spun. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be mostly hand spun, except for perhaps the back, which is going to be in brown Cascade Eco Wool. Just a dark back. So I want to get that done this month. It shouldn't take too long. I say that knowing that there's a back and 2 sleeves. Who knows? And we're practically halfway through the month. Last work in progress is my sock yarn blanket. And this is my one sort of knitting resolution that I have this year. And that is to knit a square a day when I am in residence, so to speak, at my house. And of course, started today's square out of some Madeline Tosh sock. That's in the Baltic colorway. I knit a shawl for my mom way back when, a few years ago. What is going on? Okay, hang on a sec. Well, that's just weird. Oh, okay. This is all turned around. Oh boy. Did I purl that? Oh, okay, let's see. Hang on. I'm going to show you the socks I did with the socks. The squares that I have done since the year has begun. As I said, there's today's square, and I love the juxtaposition of this amber color and this blue. And it's getting to the point where I need to do some end weaving in again. Now, for some reason, I didn't realize that I had to do, this escaped me in the directions, that I had to do these edge squares to make it sort of look like a checkerboard up the sides. And I was getting this kind of sort of slant, like these were like these. No. Oh, camera. Spatial reasoning. Okay, so these were the edges, and they were slanting, and it wasn't right. So I went back and looked at some of the pictures, and I'm like, oh, okay. I sort of missed somehow doing these edge squares. So this was a square. This was Mountain Colors. I think it has some mohair in it. It's a really nice, trying to get better light. Yep. This was hand spun. Pulver silk from No Makers in the Franklin colorway. This was also hand spun from my MPG. I had a little tiny ball left over. What else? Way over to the other side. This was some sampling spinning that I did this week, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Will I? Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that in spinning. And I did this gigantic square. It's 4 squares in one, basically the size of 4 regular squares out of some Noro sock. This was out of my Gourmet Stash punk rock colorway that I just did my leather socks in. This was a hand spun from Pigeon Roof Studios. I did socks out of that. And then this one is the same as this one, but held double. A lot nicer. You can get away with a sport weight in this blanket sometimes. And this is very, very shiny. This is from Yogurt's Fleece. And I'll bring this back once I talk about spinning yogurt and sampling yogurt. You know what? I'm just going to talk about it now. This is yogurt. Cold Spring Fleeces. I think this is either a Maryland or Pennsylvania farm. This was a coated Romney Border Leicester Corriedale mix. And is a beautiful, beautiful fleece. It's enormous. It's for me, it's almost 6 pounds. Yogurt has been all washed. There's still some lanolin in there. And I've combed 4 ounces, and I spun about 1/4 of an ounce. And out of 1/4 of an ounce, I got, this is the 3-ply. This is a Navajo ply, a chain ply. I try to break myself of saying Navajo ply because I think it has cultural connotations that aren't necessarily correct. So anyway, this is a chain ply of yogurt. This is a 3-ply. It's shockingly thin, and I think it was something like 30 yards of a 3-ply out of 1/4 of an ounce. And it's very shiny. It's, the long wools have that luster to them. And this is just very shiny. And I tried to spin from the butt end of the locks to the tip, because is where you get the better shine out of a long wool if you spin it that way. So I think that if I want to make, and this was it held single, it's just too lacy. This is nice and substantial, toothy. It's the yarn. The needle was too small for this yarn. I would have had to gone up a needle size, and I do this on, what is this, 3mm needles? Is that right? Yep, 3mm. So I think that this needs to be at least a 4-ply, possibly a 5-ply. And I don't know what it's going to become. I mean, or I could spin it larger, but I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know. Much more sampling is to be done to decide. I also have sort of had a breakthrough with my wheel. And it's a bit embarrassing to admit, but I have discovered that if I turn, and I should have brought a bobbin over, that I have been using only one side of my bobbin for the Scotch tension. And it is the side with the big, it's not a whorl necessarily, but it's the bigger band side of the bobbin. And I was just looking at it one day and thinking, the other side of the bobbin has a much smaller groove, that's the word, groove for the tension band to go around. Let me try that. So I reversed the bobbin and made sure the Scotch tension band went over the smaller groove, and holy moly, it spins so much thinner. I have it on the thinnest settings. My wheel is now on the thinnest settings, and I get a 3-ply lace weight. Yeah. Now, the kind of knitter and spinner I am, do I want to be spinning yarn like that? I don't know. It's good for some yarns, I think, that would be great for a certain project to have lots of plies. So now I have another option for my yarns, so it's kind of exciting. Yay! My other spin in progress is Hobbledehoy Ice Palace Batlings. I figured that was appropriate for this week's weather. So merino tencel, soy silk, sari silk, sparkle, 2.5 ounces. The first bobbin is almost complete. Here is the second bobbin's batlings, and I really love white fiber with sari silk. Gourmet Stash does that a lot. I adore it. So it's going to be a 2-ply. And I'm thinking it could be really cool knit up with some of Gourmet Stash's white merino with sari silk too. Because Gourmet Stash and Hobbledehoy, they go together. It's peanut butter and jelly, salt and pepper, oil and vinegar. Speaking of Gourmet Stash, this was done with my old wheel settings. There's no telling how much more yardage I would have gotten had I changed these. This is 525 yards of a 2-ply. This is her stellar top, sparkly, sparkly. It was ice dyed. It's the Great Gatsby colorway. And It's beautiful. It's much more yellow than it's showing up here, but it's just golds and silvers, and yeah, I got great yardage. This would make a great one of those curls, or I might pair it with a purple. Yeah, just beautiful. That was from her end of summer playlist. Hobbledehoy. What's the word? Sort of, they both had the same inspiration, and they dyed up stuff in collaboration. That's the word. That is it for spinning. Acquisitions. Okay. The loveliness of the fiber friends that I have made through this podcast has sort of come through again to the new year. And look what Swensty, Sarah from the Fiber Trek podcast, sent me. This amazing babushka, matryoshka. I don't know how you say it. It's a Russian, nesting doll. Isn't she a gorgeous? She's practically perfect in every way. I think Sarah made her, and I love her. And she is going to be hung up year-round in my craft room. And she also sent me a little bat from her Icelandic sheep. And this is a dual-coated sheep, and it's both coats. It's not separated. I need to make myself, it's soft. Something Lopi-ish. Now let me see. What did she say the sheep's name was? Oh, and this is stuffed. Yeah, this is handmade by Sarah, and it's stuffed with wool from her sheep. And this, she says it's a rather rugged bat. Oh, Lola. It's from Lola. Lola. And so I'm going to be spinning that very soon. And that will probably go in my scrap blankets. Seems like just enough for that. Now she also sent this. Okay, let's open it. Didn't bring scissors. Ooh, smells good. I'm skeptical, but I am very willing to try because there's chocolate involved. This is a candy that's typical. No, you're not having any. A candy that's typical of Maine. It has coconut. It has chocolate. It has mashed potatoes. All right, let's sample it. Mama approves. That's good. Chocolate is bad for dogs. I'm not getting any. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes, thank you. That was amazing. It's like an almond joy without the almonds and with a little something extra. Tiny saltiness. That's good. So thank you, Sarah. Okay. I had my Fiber Space party. That was really nice. That was right after Christmas. And a good time was had by all, I believe. Practically everyone got a massage, including me. And the store was discounted, and they served us sparkling wine and cheese and fruit. And we all bought stuff. And then we went out and had chicken and beer. So let me show you what I got. I got Jinx yarns. There's the lovely Laura with her green hair. And this is a self-striping. This is Power Sock self-striping in the Vampire Queen colorway. Red, gray, blue, and black. These will be very fun socks. Oh, and it's BFL nylon. Yay! And then I was able to acquire 2 more skeins of Loft, Brooklyn Tweed Loft in the Long Johns colorway. So now I have 5, all in the same dye lot. These are going to become a stockinette cardigan that I'm going to design for myself. I hope that's enough. I may need 1 more skein. That's about 1,300 yards. So we'll see. Should be enough. And that's a fingering weight. I'm going to do it on a larger needle to make a lofty fabric and a drapey fabric. And it should be fun. So many plans, people. So that was lovely. And yeah, Fiberspace knows what they're doing. Okay. In Stitches, I'm purloining the Knitmore Girls in Stitches podcast section from their podcast. And that's when they talk about what they've been wearing of their hand knits. And I'd like to start with this. This was a gift from Lady Furnico, who is Marlisha from the Pen Hook and Needles podcast. And it's a beautiful crocheted cowl. I think it's out of a singles yarn. I want to say it was like a mochi mochi maybe, or chroma, one of those. But it's really lovely. It's my colors. It just keeps my neck nice and warm. I can wrap it twice if I want to. So I wore that today. It's so cold. I've been wearing my Another Door Open shawl to bed. I do wear shawls to bed in the winter, as well as fingerless gloves sometimes, especially if I'm knitting in bed and then I just sort of fall asleep. I wake up with my fingerless gloves still on, or one on, one off. What else have I been wearing? All of the knit socks have gotten worn. I've worn my bare branches. I've worn my boxy with my my stripy sleeves. In fact, my sleeves would be great for a sweater like this on a cold day because it's not full-length sleeves. I've worn my Hallett Sledge. Lots of hats. My Barley hat, my Zuzu's Petals. I actually got out my big Malabrigo Chunky mittens that are thrummed with merino. They're lovely. Very warm. My mittens, I've been wearing my mittens out of Loft, which is what introduced me to this yarn and made me love it because it's hard wearing and it's very warm and light because it's woolen spun. And my Hollows and Horcruxes cowl as well. So that's kind of what I've been wearing. Alice has been wearing her knit coat. She didn't even wake up when I said her name that time. Hey, Alice. Nothing. Oh, and you gonna come say hi to the people? Maybe later. A few things that I'd like to tell you about my 2014 year in knitting. I knit, crocheted, and wove 53 different projects. That doesn't include spinning. I put out 3 patterns. I knit in the vicinity of 14,000 yards. I crocheted 2,500 yards, probably a little bit more. I wove around 3,000 yards, and I spun around 7,500 yards. That seems like it should be more. I don't know why. And out of that, I made 5 shawls, 4 toys, 12 scarves and cowls, 9 hats, 4 things for your hands, 4 pairs of socks, and 7 sweaters. And that includes baby sweaters. And then there were a few other random items in there too. Gifts and things for the house, dog blankets. So, my goal, I don't really have a knitting goal other than this. But the only thing I want to do is knit what I want. I want to make what I want. And that's what I always do. There are a few ideas floating around. I want to try brioche stitch this year. I hear a lot of the Stephen West patterns that are going to come out are heavily brioche, and I've never tried it. I'd also like to try a steek this year. Events I'm going to, let's see, the Stephen and Stephen trunk show at Fiberspace at the end of this month. So that's Stephen West and Stephen B. That should be fun. In February, I'm going to the Virginia Beach Yarn Getaway. Cannot wait. Let's see. In March, there's 2 things that I'm not sure about, and that one is the Homespun Yarn Party. The other is, I think it's in March, is the History Unwound. I would love to attend that. I still don't know if I can. And then, of course, Maryland Sheep and Wool. Would not miss that the first weekend in May. Then it is confirmed we'll be again in Spain this summer. So there's some things up in the air with that, but I'd like to do some fibery things this year in Spain, including possibly going to Germany. To the Wohnweise. It is a dream. We shall see. Then there's what else is there? Shenandoah Valley Fiber Festival. That's at the end of September. I will go to that. Would love to go back to Rhinebeck. I don't know if that will happen, but it would be lovely. And yeah, that's pretty much the year. So let's see. Oh, also in February is my fiber boot camp. And thank you guys for all of the comments and responses and ideas that you all have given me for that. I've been assured that it's not that difficult to teach left-handed knitters. I don't know if I have any yet, but I got some resources, so thank you. I'm probably going to have to rein things back a bit. You know, I tend to overplan and just know that we're not going to get to everything. That's, you know, always better as a teacher. And yeah, so that's added to the schedule as well in February. February should be very fun. I have started something that I know has been around for a while, but I've been seeing it on Instagram. It's called the Bullet Journal. And I've started it as sort of just a way to keep, what is going on here? Where's my stuff? A way to keep a record of what's going on. And I went to bulletjournal.com. I had this old book that had been written in, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago for a few pages. I ripped those pages out, and it's a really interesting concept of keeping track of not just to-do lists and calendars, but ideas and inspiration and events. It's a really interesting sort of record-keeping book. So there's my bullet journal. It kind of goes everywhere with me now. Then the last thing. There are a few new podcasts that I have found out about, and I wanted to share them. They're new to me. One of them is brand new, and that is Yarn on Over. And that's on YouTube, and that's with the lovely Emma the Band Geek on Instagram. So look her up, and you'll find information about her podcast on YouTube. Emma the Band Geek, and the podcast is Yarn on Over. She's 16, and she's incredibly poised and has beautiful crafts, and I really enjoyed watching the 2 episodes that she's put out so far. Then there's Wolful, and I cannot remember the hostess's name, but she does amazing interviews. Really enjoyable interviews. The last one I listened to had Julie Hoover and Bristol Ivy, and just very full of information and well done. And it's enough of a conversation, a balance between conversation and interview that I really like. It's more interview than conversation, but there is a little bit of conversation in there. And then New Hampshire Knits and Age Knits, and just lovely, just really lovely. Definitely check her out. I think I listened to one a while ago, and the sound quality I couldn't hear it. I gave it a second chance, and that must have been an aberration, because it was really great. So yeah. So Alice, no, I don't think we're getting Alice shenanigans today. She's been not happy with the weather. Come here, you little bundle. Oh, my mommy's so mean to me. Oh, she's like a little hot potato. Okay, put you back. You stay there. Sorry about that, Al. We hope you have a great week, and we hope we will see you next week. And until then, take care.